Greetings, everyone. My apologies that on Monday, when we recorded the video, it did not come out okay because of load shedding. When there's load shedding, our internet is weak. So I know that some of you had posted your questions. On my end, I did respond to questions, but when I viewed the video later on, your questions were not covered. So we are responding to questions that we should have responded to them on Monday. We start with Comrade Kukuletu, Lynette Mhlanga. She's asking a very difficult question. She says, you married, so I don't know what Comrade Kukuletu, Lynette Mhlanga means, whether she wants to know about my marital status. It remains private. Comrade Prince Nkomo wrote a comment here. He says it's about the World Cup, which is coming up in Qatar this weekend. Says at least South African referees will participate. Gomes and Siwela Zakele. Hope they will perform diligently. It was when we asked the question on how far will the African countries, the 5 that are participating in the World Cup, will go in terms of going, whether they will go beyond the quarterfinals. We spoke about Cameroon, Ghana that have reached the quarterfinal stage, but there's no team that is yet to at least get to the semi-finals. Comrade Beginkosi Ndlovu writes, greetings. My, which I think was saying me and my wife are holders of Zimbabwe exemption permit. Our daughter born in South Africa has no permit yet. She will be going to grade 11. Please advise what to be done. What do you need is to apply for a study permit. If, say, your child has never traveled outside the country, that is outside South Africa, you can apply for a study permit for your child in South Africa. But the question obviously will arise to say, all these years, how has your child been living in South Africa? We did advise in the previous video that if you are a migrant and your child is born in South Africa, you need to go to your consulate and apply for a child's birth certificate. You then apply for a passport, then an accompanying visa. But if this child who is going to grade 11 once traveled outside South Africa, you will need to go to your country of origin. In this case, Comrade Beginkosi Ndlovu, you will need to go to Zimbabwe and apply for the child study permit, because when the child came to South Africa, after visiting relatives, she was given a visitor's visa at the port of entry. You remember we said you cannot change the condition of a visa while in South Africa. And then Comrade ZEP writes, it was after we had posted a presentation that we did in the presence of the acting Deputy Director General of Home Affairs last week in Ekhuruleni. So she writes, she says they do not respond. We are, of course, worried about this. We did ask the acting Director General on why they do not respond, because remember, we wrote to the Director General of Home Affairs on the 5th of January. There was no response. We wrote again in September. There was no response. We spoke to this spokesperson to the minister on how domestic workers apply for a waiver. He did link us up with the team that was set up by the minister, which is reviewing these permits or receiving these applications. Until now, also, they have not responded. The acting Deputy Director General then said we should put it in writing. He is yet also to respond. We are also trying to have a physical private meeting with them to understand, so that many people get assisted. Comrade Pius Kabo writes, hi, ngicela ukubuza ma ngifuna uku-apply i-work permit ngenze njani ukuze ngiyithole. If you have no permit but you are in South Africa, you need to go back to your country of origin, because the waiver to apply in South Africa only applies to the holders of Zimbabwe exemption permits. But if you are any other migrant or even a Zimbabwean, but you are not a holder of ZEP, you need to go and apply in Zimbabwe. You need to visit the website of the VFS and check the permit in which you qualify under. You then apply. Then Comrade Josephine Chikombe writes, I'm a lady from Zimbabwe and married to a South African. He paid lobola to my parents, but no kids yet and no ZEP. Where can I get help so that I will be able to stay with my husband here in South Africa? What you need, Comrade Josephine Chikombe, is to go back to Zimbabwe and apply for a spouse visa. You will need a copy of your husband's ID, the 3 months bank statement, proof that you are married, which you have to provide the proof that paid lobola. If you don't have a marriage certificate, but you can also provide the proof that you are married customarily. Unfortunately, you have to go and apply in Zimbabwe. You cannot apply in South Africa because you are on a visitor's visa. The stamp that the days that they gave you at the border is called the visitor's visa, so you cannot change the condition of your visa while in South Africa. We then recorded a video when we were interviewing Comrade Carlos Manyatela, who is organizing a business conference for holders of ZEP and other migrants in Parktown at the Holiday Inn. Then Comrade Zets, whom I've known for many years, then writes, great initiative. Carlos, please contact me for further discussions. Comrade Mapena has my number. So if you consult me, Comrade Carlos, and you need to link up with Comrade Zets, yes, I do have his number. And then Comrade Nometa Muzibo writes, so what about domestic workers? We have discussed about domestic workers that at this stage we are not very sure on how they apply for a waiver. This is why we are saying we have been engaged in the Department of Home Affairs, not only domestic workers, but other people of low skill, whether in construction, Uber drivers, and so forth, who are still waiting for directive from them. Because we have said under the Immigration Act, it is not clear on how you apply for a waiver. Comrade Jacqueline Lipeli writes, thanks for talking about Zimbabwe, focusing about Zim, not SA, and leave us South Africans alone. Please, thanks, maybe Zim will change. She was responding to a video that we recorded when we were discussing about the forthcoming elections in 2023. But the point, Comrade Jacqueline Lipeli, is that we are neighbors. Migration, we have said, is a global phenomenon. You might hate Zimbabweans or any other migrant for that matter. Our economies are interlinked. And I was saying, if South Africa does not deal with the current challenges, be it challenges of ESCOM and other challenges, it is possible as well to go the way of Zimbabwe. I visited Zambia in 1991. I never thought that Zimbabwe was going to be Western Zambia. But we are now Western Zambia, something that we never imagined in 1991. I had gone up to Lusaka, and what I saw, I thought it was not going to happen to Zimbabwe, but it did happen, and we are far much worse than them. So it's possible that South Africa can go the way of Zimbabwe if it does not address its numerous challenges that it is faced with. So it does not help to be anti-migrant, but what we should do, because our economies are linked, is to say how to industrialize the SADC region so that we develop our economies in the region to an extent that even a South African can go and stay in Lilongwe. We should stop this attitude of being anti other black people, but we keep quiet when the very people that came and colonized us, we think they have a right to supervise even our port of entry, be in the South African police service and be the ones that are arresting black people on the basis that you are separated by a border. This is not what we fought for. And then Comrade Permit Mncube writes, my son is 20 years old. He have birth certificate of ZIM, but he never applied for an ID. Can he apply for RSA citizenship? I would assume that your child is born in South Africa. There is a court judgment that said children born in South Africa to migrants do qualify. We have been going in the last few days to some offices, Home Affairs offices, but we are facing challenges. We are still consulting on how this should be resolved, because it seems there's misinformation when one gets to, say, Randburg Home Affairs or Harrison Home Affairs in central Johannesburg. But we are still consulting. We hope that very soon we'll be able to assist you on what you need to do. And then Comrade Muto says, to me, this important video was cut short. Why and can we get a full one, please? He speaks about the video that we recorded when we were in Ehurulen, when we had a meeting with the Department of Home Affairs, in a meeting which was organized by Comrade Buthelezwe Nyati and his team. Unfortunately, the comrade who was recording, he didn't do a good job. I fired him. So I had asked a friend at that conference to record, but he did record a few pieces which we've posted. So we are checking with the organizers if they do have a full video so that we can send it to you. And then someone writes, says, I'm happy that you take your time to watch all my videos. Great salute. Yes, I do. I do watch videos. If people do watch my own videos, I also have to watch other people's videos. I think that is very important, because we learn from each other. And Comrade Nelia Mutamera writes, I applied my ZEP permit, but there's someone using it in Durban. Where can I get help? Because I do not even hold it in my hand, but in the computer shows that it was collected in Durban. You need to ask the Department of Home Affairs to write a confirmation letter to confirm that indeed the permit in 2017 was issued in your name, so that you can use that confirmation letter and apply if you qualify to move to another visa. So you can contact me. You have my number, which is 083-340-1000. We will assist you. We will contact on your behalf the ZEP manager at the head office, the Hallmark building in Pretoria, so that they can assist you by writing a confirmation letter so that you can move to another visa. Comrade Admire Dube writes, good afternoon, Mr. Mapena. Did the Deputy DG of Home Affairs respond to the questions that you posed? He said we should put it in writing. As I've already indicated, we are trying to meet with them and see whether they are able to assist. Then there's some comment here. We were talking about, I think we're talking about assisting holders of ZEP to move to other visas in the previous video. Then the comrade Digeleti Jana writes, Mabena is hired by ZANU-PF to keep Zimbabweans in South Africa so that Mnangagwa has to rule Zimbabwe forever. It is not factual, because what we did in 2016, civil society, political parties, we signed a petition or a pledge that we want a diaspora vote, so that Zimbabweans that are in South Africa, including those on ZEP, could participate in the electoral process in Zimbabwe, because every Zimbabwean has a right to vote. If we send our remittances to Zimbabwe, it means we must also be involved in the politics of the country. And the only way we can do as Zimbabweans is to cast our vote. We went to court, Comrade Gabriel Shumba and the other lawyers went to court in Zimbabwe, in Harare. Unfortunately, the court did not rule in our favor. It said the issue of diaspora vote is not constitutional, and it directed parties represented in the Parliament of Zimbabwe to amend the constitution so that there is diaspora vote. Unfortunately, parties that are in Parliament have not done so, meaning there will be no diaspora vote in 2023. So if diaspora vote is allowed, just like other Africans, like the people of Kenya, they were voting recently, they voted in South Africa. We also want Zimbabweans to also participate in the electoral process, even if they are outside Zimbabwe. So it would not be correct, therefore, Comrade Digelet Janet to then say the reason why we are asking Zimbabweans to be documented is that ZANU-PF and Mnangagwa should continue to rule in Zimbabwe. Then Comrade Ndabezinhle Ndlovu writes, says Mdala, thina singelalutho, what do we do? I've already said that if you do not have a permit, you need to go and apply in Zimbabwe, because the waiver for people to apply in South Africa is only applicable to holders of Zimbabwe exemption permits. But if you do not have a ZEP, you need to go back to Zimbabwe. And Comrade Bongani Dlamini writes, excuse me. Comrade Bongani Dlamini, whom I think is a, is a South African, writes, thank you for talking about Zimbabwe today. I've been telling you to focus on your country, Zimbabwe, and leave SA and its citizens alone. I think I've already dealt with this, Comrade Dlamini. And then there is a comrade, I think I've lost his question. But there's a comrade who who was writing here saying the 90 days visa is not a relocation. He was referring to the video that we did. Remember on Monday we responded to a question that was asked by a comrade in Nairobi. He is of Kenyan origin. He wants to relocate to South Africa in Cape Town. So he wanted to know what he could do. What we then said was that because President Ramaphosa and the Kenyan president signed an agreement that Kenyans can now visit for 90 days in South Africa, then our advice was that the colleague from Kenya can come to South Africa, apply for a job, go for interviews. If they qualify or get a job, they go back to Nairobi and apply for a work visa for them to be able to relocate. If they then want to do business in South Africa, the 90 days will allow them to engage the Department of Industry in South Africa, so that industry and trade in South Africa, so that they can evaluate in terms of the business that he wants to do. If he provides proof that he has 5 million rands and the South African government says his business will contribute to the South African economy, then he can go back and then apply for a business visa for him to be able to relocate to Cape Town. These were the questions that we did not respond to on Monday. Once again, we apologize that our network was poor due to load shedding. Please subscribe to this YouTube channel, circulate this video, and please like the video. Otherwise, have a great day. Goodbye.